Hey, everybody, welcome back. If we've never met, my name is Gavin, and we are wrapping up our conversations on decisions. We've had this is our fourth conversation on decision making, and really the questions we can ask ourselves as we're trying to make better decisions. So I want to start today with something I bet money is true about you right now. And I've said this for the past three installments of this podcast. There are decisions that are sitting on your desk right now, and you know what they are. There's the staff thing that you've been circling for months, the kind of confrontation that you keep rescheduling, the direction change that you know needs to happen, but it just doesn't feel like the right time, so you haven't announced it. Like whatever it is, right? It feels enormous right now. It fills the room, your entire office. It's definitely living rent-free in your head. And you've replayed the conversation in your head a dozen times, right? You've imagined the fallout. You've done the math on who was going to get upset, who might leave, right? Who's going to be questioning you, who you're going to lose trust or influence with. And here's what I kind of want to say to you right out of the gate with this. The weight that you're feeling is legitimate, right? That is not fake weight. Like the size of the moment, though, that where you may be a little deceived by that. And here's why. Pressure makes this present feel very permanent. Now, that's a lot of P's. So let me just say it for you again. The pressure that you're feeling around this decision, it really does make this present moment feel like it's going to be permanently etched on your heart, on your org, on your church. Like when you are inside of a hard moment, it looks like the entire story is the moment. Every possible consequence feels immediate and lasting. And the discomfort of the next 30, 60 days, with the crowds and all the things, it feels like it's going to last 30 years, right? You'll be long gone before that pressure alleviates. That's how it feels. Some of you know this. I was a lead pastor for 13 years. I've been in ministry for 21, I guess at this point, years. And I can tell you from painful personal experience, every decision that felt catastrophic in the moment eventually, and this is so important, became a paragraph. That's it. Like eventually, as hard as it was, whatever that thing was, it didn't stay that hard forever, right? The moment passed. The hard conversation over time got absorbed. Like the transition settled. The church kept moving, and a few years later, I could tell the story of that moment, of that season to somebody else. And all the fear and trepidation that I felt in the moment didn't even make it into the retelling, really. What did make it in, though, was what I avoided to do in the moment. And a lot of that was driven by fear. But once you make it, the fear evaporates. And that part of the story, I don't know, it doesn't seem as significant a few years later. So today we're talking about this, question. And the question, this is the third question in our decision-making questions installment, okay? What story do I want to tell? That's the question. Now, I've heard this question from lots of other people. I did not make up this question, okay? So I get no credit for this question. But, and by the way, I've heard pastors teach on this several times. When you think about decisions you're making in your life or something has happened in your life and you want to react or you don't want to forgive, whatever it may be personal for you. And when you think about it from this perspective, eventually this will be a story I tell. What story do I want to tell? This is such a great question for leadership decision-making. Because think about this decision you need to make right now. You're living with it right now and you haven't made it. I want you to play it forward 3, 4, 5 years. Like imagine you are recounting this season to a younger leader or to your team, or maybe honestly, you're just recounting it to yourself. And in one version sounds like, I saw the problem and I addressed it with clarity and care. The other version sounds like, I knew what needed to happen. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. No one wants to tell that second story. No leader wants that to be the story that they tell. And yet, come on, right? Leaders are writing that story, though, that second story every single day. And they're doing it one postponed conversation at a time. Now, the core idea, right? And I wrote about this in the blog today, too. That's really the core idea. What story do we want to tell? But let's go a little further just between you and me in this conversation, because there is another layer to this that I think can be helpful. Because here's the thing I've noticed kind of sitting with pastors that are in this exact moment. Every stalled decision has kind of 3 drafts being written at the same time, right? They're kind of 3 versions of the story, and they're all in progress at the same time, all competing to become the official story of record. And you need to know which draft is currently winning. Draft one is the fear draft. This is the story that you're telling yourself right now to justify the waiting and the avoidance. And it sounds reasonable, right? Especially when you spiritualize it. The timing isn't right. I need more information. I don't want to hurt, the people. I'm a shepherd, right? The church can't handle another change right now. Totally get it. Sometimes it's valid, right? But fear is persuasive, and it's a very persuasive writer. And it is often our leadership favorite genre because it sounds responsible, and delaying can sound responsible. But how do you spot if this is a draft of fear? Well, here's a way to think about it. It always ends with the same conclusion. Wait. If your decision draft is ending with, well, just wait a little longer, you are drafting out of fear. Can almost guarantee it. No matter what the new information arrived, right? Like even if there's something new that you're going to hear eventually, that fear's draft is always going to recommend waiting because here's what's going to happen. You're going to get more information and you're still going to feel like waiting if fear is drafting your decision process. So in every version of your kind of internal reasoning, if it always lands with not yet, fear is probably the one holding the pen. All right, now, draft number two is the team's draft, not yours. So while you deliberate, your staff and your people, the people who are affected by the story that's being written right now, are writing their own versions of this season for their story. Because you know what? They see the problem too. Trust me, they see it. And they are watching what you are going to do and doing about it. And every day, every week, every month that passes, their draft gets more detailed. Their version will include whether you protected the mission or protected your comfort. That's sobering, isn't it? Like, you don't get to edit their draft. You only get to influence it through action. So, fear may be writing your draft. Your team is also writing a draft. And here's the third draft. Draft three is your intended draft. This is the story that you actually want to tell. Like the one where you led with clarity and care, where you had the hard conversation with honesty and kindness, with integrity, where the mission moved forward because of you and because you stopped avoiding. This draft exists in your head. And for right now, for a lot of you, maybe it exists only in your head. It has zero sentences on paper. It's just sitting in your brain because you know you need to do it. So here's the diagnostic, I think, question that for all of us, and we got to figure out how we're going to do this, right? Which draft is currently winning? That's the question we have to ask. Which draft is currently the fear draft, the staff draft, or I know what story I want to tell draft, and I'm going to make sure that's the story I get to tell. Which draft is winning? Because one of them is. And the story that is being written right now, right, whether you're hiding the pen or not, right, is still being written. So if you've been postponing a conversation, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, fear is drafting, fear is winning. If your team has started working around the problem and are working around you and working around the person or the program instead of waiting for you to solve it, their draft is winning. And that is not a flattering thought, is it? In fact, your intended draft only wins when you do one thing, when you take action. So, what story do you want to tell? That's a great clarifying question. However, it does require action. The minute you know what story that you want to tell one day, it is time to take action.